Welcome to Javo's Garage, and thank you for joining me here in video one of a three-part series actually that I'm doing here on my 2004 Ford F350 crew cab. Now, what I'm going to be doing actually is I'm going to be taking the entire interior out of this thing, from the headliner to all the trim pieces along the pillars, all the trim and everything along the back. I'm going to be taking the dash apart, pulling the carpet out, the door panels, everything's coming out, all the seats, everything's coming out of this thing, so I can clean it all and then put it all back in once it's dry and make my truck basically like brand new again. Now, this all kind of started out a little while back, and my sunroof quit working, so I need to get access to it, get it out and do a repair, and I'll link that video in the description down below in case you want to check it out. My power rear slider stopped working, so I need to get access to it. So that's kind of where this whole thing started, to give me access to all those things so I can fix them, and that's where this video series comes in. So in this first video of the series, it's basically going to be taking everything out of the truck and we start cleaning it. In the second series, I'm going to get the headliner cleaned and then get it reinstalled, do the carpet and all the trim pieces. And then in the final video, video 3 of this series, I'll be going ahead and putting the seats back in, putting the dash back together, doing the final things on this. So you should be able to get some good information out of this, and hopefully it'll help you out. But enough of talking here. Let's start taking everything out of the inside of this thing and let's get it cleaned up. So the first step of our process is we're going to want to get the seats out. Now, your seats are held in with 4 fasteners. We're going to start here on the front. So I've moved the seat all the way back. It's held in with 2 fasteners in the front that require a T55 star bit. We're going to take those out now. Now that we've got the ones out of the front, what we're going to do is move the seat all the way forward so we can get to the ones in the back. Now we've moved to the back, we're going to remove these 2 fasteners located down here. This one here is a T55 again. Funny enough, over here we have a stud with a nut. Don't pay attention to this. This is for a CB antenna that I have on my truck, so it's not affecting anything. But this one here is an 18 millimeter nut. We'll go ahead and remove these 2. We have all the fasteners out of our seat, so what I'm going to want to do now is move the seat back to about in the middle position, and then what we'll do is we're going to lift it up and then tilt it back so we can get to the electrical connections under the seat and get those disconnected so we can pull the seat out. So now I'm just going to go ahead and tilt that back and lift it up a bit, get it off of that stud. And now we can get to the electrical underneath. So here now you can get a better view of the seats out. So here's our 2 connections that we're going to have to do. You have this one here and you have this one back here. These are the style where it just has that little lock that you'll push in there, that little connector, and you'll just push that in and you can kind of pull on that, and this is always easier with 2 hands, but there you have it right there. Same principle here. You're just going to press that button in and then pull those 2 apart. And now this seat's disconnected and we can take it out of the truck. So now we'll lean this up. I like to put the armrest up. It just gives us fewer things. And then the other thing I'll do too is I'll kind of stand the seat up, put the back up as far as I can, and there's it. And then what I found easiest is, especially with the steering wheel here in the way, is you're gonna need to kind of tilt it, and it's in an L shape, so you'll kind of just swing it out. Let me show you how we do that. And there we have it. Now we're over to the passenger side. We're going to do the same thing, bring the seat all the way back, and then we're going to remove the 2 T55 fasteners that are located here in the front. Next thing we'll do is move the seat forward again. The other thing I usually try and do as well is raise the back up. It just gives you a little bit more room. Now we're going to remove our first fastener here. Now we'll remove the nut. Next, we're going to lift the seat up and then lay it back. Once again, we're going to move the seat to where it's about in the middle of the track. Perfect, about there. We're going to bring the back of the seat forward, and now we're just going to lay it back and then lift it up off of that stud, like so. And now we'll disconnect our electrical. Let me bring you around and I'll show you that. Here's our electrical connection under here. Same principle as the other side. It's got that little locking tab. You're going to just press that in and pull back on it and remove that. Now our seat's disconnected. Now what we're going to do is take out our center console. There are two fasteners inside of there. They're both an 8mm. Let me bring you in closer, show you how to remove those, and then we'll take that out. Now also, by the way, on the front here, you have your cup holder. This just lifts up and comes out, and you can just set it off to the side for now. But let me take you inside here. I lifted that up, and let me get a light. You have like a little carpet liner in here. And then now, if you'll take a look, we have one fastener here and we have one fastener located over here. We need to remove those. Now with that, I can just lower this back down and lift up and take this out. Now these here are something extra I put in because I had a power inverter in there. So we're just going to leave these off to the side. We'll go put this in the garage and we'll keep moving on our project. Now one thing I wanted to point out to you, and I noticed it here as I took off my center console, the people that owned the truck before me, they kind of hacked away at my center console here. They had something in there at one point, I don't know what it was. But when they cut that out, they also cut out the bottom here. And what I realized is not only are there two fasteners in the front, but there will also be two fasteners towards the rear, but mine aren't there because they cut this all out. So when you're doing yours, look for the two in the back as well. So now what we're looking to do is get this whole back seat out so we can actually get to our trim pieces and finish up our detail job here that we're working on. Now the back seat is, the frame comes out to here along the front. We have 4 fasteners. These are the T55s again. Now along the back side it has like the studs with the nuts like we had in the front that are 18, and they're very difficult to get through here. Even if we bring this up and fold it, it's going to be really hard. We're going to have to get a wrench in there. So the more I got to looking at it, what I think to me makes sense is there are 2, 4, 6 fasteners that hold this folding plate here for storage onto the frame, and I'm going to remove those because when I do, that'll make it easier for me to get in here with the wrench to get to those bolts in the back or those nuts on the studs and take them out. Now each one of these fasteners on here are a T40 and they're pretty simple to take out, and then what we can do is we can remove this and then get to the back fasteners. Now I should be able to just pull this forward unless we're being held on with one other one that I'm missing here. Okay, so I got to looking at it, and what's happening is there's also a bracket that comes off the front here, and we'll bring you around so you can see it. This one here, once again, a T55. This one secures this storage plate that's also bolted onto it through there. So once we remove this one, we should be able to remove this plate. So now that we have those plates out of the way, we can get to our fasteners located here on the back before I take out the easy ones here in the front. Now we're going to start over here on this side, and there's one located way back down here in this corner. Hopefully y'all can see that with my lighting. Now what I ran into is I could not get a deep socket in there. It was too tall, and then my shallow socket didn't work because it was hitting on the stud. So we're going to do this the old-fashioned way, and that is just with a wrench. So to break it free, I'm going to go ahead and put this on here. Now I'm not sure how tight it was going to be, so we're going to go ahead and add some leverage here with our other wrench. I'm sure you've seen this done before, and I think we have it started now. We do. Now I'm just going to switch over to my ratchet wrench and we'll take that nut out. Okay, so we have that one out. Now while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and remove this fastener, and I'll switch sides with you and head over to the passenger side. All right, now I'm over to the passenger side. You're back over to the driver's side. Let me show you the other two fasteners in the rear located over here. You have one opposite of that one located over here in this corner right here. And then if you go back into this corner, back down in here, and hopefully you can see that. See if I can get a light. There we go. This one right there. That's your other fastener there. Once again, they're both 18s. I'm going to go ahead and get those taken out. There's our first one. Now on to our second one. There's our second one. Now what we'll do is go ahead and remove these two fasteners here. And that should loosen us up. We may have a few more that we couldn't see, but I'm going to go ahead and remove this headrest back here possibly, if I can. If not, I'll just push it down in there. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and take the other one off on the other side, but let me show you how you do that. It's just going to make it shorter so it's easier to maneuver it and get it out of here. So now to get the headrest out, you'll see you have a button over here, but also on this side, and hopefully you can see it, there's a little button over there, and that'll help you release it. Now this one here is to move it up and down, but it's only going to go so far. So if I'll press that in with one hand and press this button in with the other hand, and I'm trying to do it with my hand out of your way and it's probably not working. See how now it clears it? And you can go ahead and pull the headrest out. All right, so I've played around here with it a bit. Now I'm going to warn you right off the bat, this back section is very heavy. We kept thinking that there was actually some fasteners still holding it in, but there aren't. It's just really heavy. What I found easiest was I just got one of my pry bars, and what you want to do is get it off of the studs on the back. Once you get it kind of off of that, it becomes a bit better. So I'm going to have my son help me. There's no way I'm going to be able to move this by myself. So our goal here is going to be to lift it up and kind of tilt it forward, and then we're just going to bring it right out through the door. Hopefully that's going to go well. We're about to find out. So what I'm going to do now is just take my pry bar and I'm going to kind of go underneath in this back corner, and you'll see how the seat kind of lifts up, and that's what we're looking to do to get it off of there. And now that I'm under it, see, now I can move it forward, and Levi's done that as well. Ready? Oh, hang tight. I wonder if these separate. It looks like these seats may separate. They are a 60, more like an 80-20. Levi's going to pull it back his way a bit. We're going to take a look at this. Oh, there it goes. Well, that makes it so much easier. There's a plastic piece that goes on a stud on this seat. Well, that just took a bunch of weight off of that seat. That's going to make life a whole lot easier. It'll also make it easier to actually take the seat out, because once you can take this out, you can easily get to that other stud. But let me get this out of the way. Now let's get the other seat out. This is much lighter. This is so much easier. No comparison. So here's our carpets with all the seats out of the way. Hopefully this gives it some I mean, they're not hideous, as you can see. They're not badly stained, but definitely dirty. They're 24 years of dirt and kids and life and all of that going on in here. And so I'll give you a before so we can see it. I have had this back panel out. I've had problems with that stupid power slider in the back. In fact, you'll see there's a piece of PVC over there because it's not working right now, and that's just to keep it so somebody can't open it and break into my truck. That's going to be a side project here, so this is definitely coming out because I'm going to get in there, try and get my back window working again. But this here is our floor. Now I'm going to clean up all the lovely Nerf darts and all that fun stuff everywhere. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to tackle our seat belts there for the back. This one here is your side belt that comes in, and it's, if you pull this piece of carpet back, you'll see you have a fastener down in there. T55, once again, we'll take that out. And then we have our belts here for the back seat as well. Whoops, sorry. We have the other one over there. These here, once again, all the T55s. We have the same thing with that belt coming down over there. It's just like this one that's here. We're going to do the same thing there. Just going to pop all of these out. I'm going to do a time lapse for you on that. That's pretty easy. Surely you can figure that part out. Okay, so I was wrong. Actually, the fastener that holds these side belts in is not a T55, it's a T50, so just switch to that. It's got a large plate in there actually, but it goes underneath the seat trim over here, your seal trim, and you'll just pull those out. We're going to let that hang there for now, and that way it'll give us access to get all these out. Let me go take out the other side. We're here, we need to remove these anchors for the child seats, for the kids' car seats. And so these use, actually, I believe it's a T45, and there's 3 of them across here. Since we're here and we're working, we're going to go ahead and remove these. So now the next thing we want to do, just as we progress, is start to remove our door seal plates. And the reason we do that is because the door seal plates sit on top of these trim panels here, the pillars that come down. So we want to take these out so then we can get to these, and then really we're ready for the carpet. Now when you're doing a job like this, really you're going to need some of these. These here are just some trim panel tools. I'll put some links down below in the description so you can get those. But it's pretty easy to do. These pop out real quick. Let me show you how I do it. And so what I'll do is I'll just take my tool and I will put that kind of up underneath here, and then you just pop up. So you put it under and just push up, and it'll just pop right out. Just like that. And you'll see these here are the little locking tabs, and those go inside these right here. So that's what holds it in place. So I'm going to set this here. Let's move up to the front. Same thing again. Here's our door seal plate. And wow, look at all that dirt along there, right? So what I'm going to do is I want to just start on one end. I'll lift up a little bit and get my tool under there. And a lot of times too, as you move along, you can kind of feel where there's something holding it. It feels like there's one about right here, and I'll just lift up and I'll just keep moving down. And there's another one. There's one. There's one. And there we go. So when we lift it up, you'll see we have 5 along here, and those go into these 5 tabs right in through there. Now we have our little trim panel up here in the front, and with this one you're going to pull it straight back. I do believe, yep, just like so. And then we'll pull that out. Boy, you can see how dirty that is. And so we're going to now repeat the same process over on the other side. One thing I wanted to stop and show you just real quick when you do this is you're going to notice that these center pieces are actually kind of locked into these pillars here. And if you'll look, there's a tab like here and here on the end, and there'll be openings, and I can take this front one out. See how there's an opening in there? And so what happens is those interlock like so, and it kind of goes through there. So as you do it, you're going to need to take that out, by the way. I failed to point that out earlier. I want you to see that. So now the next thing I want to do is take out the fasteners that hold our seat belts here. And so what happens is if you'll just kind of pull this back a little bit, you'll see there's your fastener down there. Those are a T50. We're going to take these out on both sides, and then we can start working on that pillar. So now what we want to do is take out the trim here for our pillar. And to start with, what we need to do is get the top part of the seat belt taken out. And we have to pop this cover off. And the way I usually do is I'll just kind of get my fingers under there. See how that popped up? and that reveals the fastener. These here are a 15. We'll go ahead and remove that. And so I have that nut off of there. We'll go ahead and just slide this off of there like so, and set that down here. Now this whole thing, what you'll do is it just has those retaining clips, and I'll show you. But to start with, I'm gonna pull off my trim here a bit, and we're just gonna start pulling out on it away from the pillar, and it should just pop right off. Now normally, to be honest, you'd be better off to take this handle out ahead of time, but we're kind of just moving quicker through here. See, now we have that through. I'll go ahead and put this stripping back on. Now that that's down, you'll come down here, and what you'll want to do is you kind of fold it in. Hopefully you can see that on itself, and what you want to do is pop that out, and you can take that and set off to the side. Now you can feed your seat belt through this opening and then remove it, this trim, from your truck. And then there we take the panel out. Now let me show you. So these here are the fasteners that are there, and there's two up top here. So those go in up here. You have one that goes in down here. You have one here, one here. You have another one that lines up here. And that is how those go in there. Now we're gonna leave this just like it is here for now, and we'll set this off to the side, because that now gives us room to get the carpet out. All right, so now what we're trying to do is remove this trim back here on the rear, and the first thing we need to do is get the seat belt out of the way. Now what you'll do is you kind of grab the side again and pop up this cover, and it's going to reveal a fastener under there. That is a T50. We're going to undo that, set it down, and then same principle again. This whole panel will then just pull away from there, and we'll take it out. Let me show you. And then what I'll do is I'll kind of pull this just so I can have some leverage to get in there. And I like to take my little tool and kind of push it in there. And I can just, I'll push it in and then push out. And it pulls those tabs out. And you don't need to go crazy. Just work your way down it nice and slow. There we go. And there we have it. Now you'll feed your seat belt back through this opening here. And then you can take the panel out. Now I'll show you real quick. Once we turn this around, now you can see this is where you have all the different fasteners that hold this panel in. So what you're going to want to do is put pressure on those when you pop it out, and then you're able to take it out like this. So now what we're going to do is take out this back panel here, and it was held in before by the trim pieces holding it up the side. Once we've done that, there are 4 of these little plastic little trim hold downs here, and I'll just take my tool and we'll take that, go in there and pop those out, and then this whole panel here comes out in one piece. next thing we want to do is get our two different handles here taken off, as well as our coat hanger here. And these are basically held in with just some fasteners. Now this one here is already kind of missing one, unfortunately, but they just have a little cover here on the end. And you'll just take a little straight screwdriver and you'll kind of put it in there and just push in, and then it'll pop right out and you'll have access to it. Same thing here with this one. You'll just take a screwdriver, kind of go in on the bottom there. You can go in on the top and you'll see how easy that popped off. We'll do it here again. You'll just kind of take it, put it in there, and they're made of rubber, so you can't really break them. Now once you get in there, these two fasteners are an 8mm. This one here is the Phillips, and these two here are also 8mm. We'll take these all out. So now what we want to do is remove this handle up here, and same principle applies. We have these two covers. You just take your straight screwdriver, you'll poke it in there, push it in, and then pull down. And they're rubber, so they come out real easy, just like that. And then once you get inside of there, those appear to be 7mm. Now what we want to do is take out this whole trim piece along here, and the first thing we need to do is to remove our OS handle here. And to do that, we're just going to take a screwdriver. Once again, we got a cap here and here. Hopefully you can see that a bit from your angle, and we'll just take this and we'll pry up on them. They're rubber again, so they're easy to pry out of there. And then once you get those out, you're going to have fasteners in there, and it appears like we have two per side from what I can feel right now, and those are an 8mm. So what we're going to do now, I don't want to force anything and break it. I haven't had this out before. What we're going to do is go ahead and pull this down and then pop this out, and this is held in with some attachments, and then kind of tilt it forward, and then we'll pull it out like so. Now if we come inside of here, hopefully you can see that. Apparently this one was pulled out, but there's two Phillips heads. There's one Phillips here and one Phillips here. That secures this to this trim, and then these here are the openings, and that's where your fasteners go in. So now what we're going to do is take this trim off. Now naturally my trim is different. This is an aftermarket that has the gauges in it. It was here when I bought my truck actually, and so I haven't had this out before, but what we're going to do is we're going to just peel this back if it's kind of like the factory, and as I look at it, it looks like it actually rests over my factory trim piece. And so I'm going to put my fingers in up here, and I'm going to slowly just try and pry downward. That should be all that holds this in. And quite frankly, because of the gauges and everything here, I'm not looking to remove this entirely, and it feels like there may be something holding it. So I'm probably going to leave it pretty much like it is, like this. And for what the purpose of this video is at this point with the headliner is to get this out so I can get to the sunroof, and this will give me that clearance. So this is going to stay here for now. The next thing we want to do is we want to get this piece here taken out, which is our center console here for the overhead. And with this one, I believe this is held in, and what we're going to do is just pry it down. There are no screws that are on this. It should be just pushed in, and what we're going to do is, you'll see I'm just lightly pulling down. See how that's popping? Just like that. And we don't want to force anything. We just want to lightly encourage this to pop down, and you'll see it did it right there. We'll now come through, and we have an electrical harness back here, and this is something crazy that somebody tapped in here. I've never seen this before. I've never had this off. So Not sure what this is. It's a power source for something, but any case, so this has the press in tab here. We'll just press that in and pull this harness out. So there's the one plug, and we got that out, and then we have this one over here, and we have that undone. And normally this would be out, but somebody, and I don't know what in the world this is for, somebody has this all run through here. So we're going to pause the video for a second, just take some pictures, because we're going to have to disconnect this so we can get this out of our way. So now all we have left to do is to get our visors here out of the way. We still have our handle over here, our holder, and then we have the main body over here that has the hinge. These are held on with just Phillips head fasteners. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that one. And generally speaking, you're going to have an electrical that's going to go right up through here, and it's going to plug in up above, and I'll do my best to show you that here in a second. And we'll let this hang down, and we'll take this one out, and we'll have that. So now this is hanging down. Let me pull this down a little bit and I will show you. There we go, it popped out, made it easier for you. So here we have our harness that's for that, and it's got just a button, and once again the little retainer, and you'll just press that down and pull it, and they should come apart. Now we're over here onto the passenger side, same concept, 2 fasteners, 1 fastener with a connector over here. And so one of the last things we're going to have to do is we have a plastic fastener here and over here, and I'm just going to take my interior tool and pop this in here just like that, and they come out, and that is what that fastener looks like. I'm going to do the same thing over here on this side and just kind of pop it down. I'm trying to stay out of your way, but I may have to get in there. So there we have it. And I do believe, I want to see if this comes down. It feels like we're being held in a bit with the fastener that's in here. And what I'm going to do, you'll see how it has like these little openings in here. What we want to do, so I'm going to try and push those in first. Looks like they're not doing that. And there we go. What I did is, you'll see how these tabs are. I just put some pressure on it and popped it down. Now that we're inside of there, we have 2 fasteners here, and it looks like 1 back here that's holding this up in. And so we'll go ahead and take those off. And we have this, and we'll pull this down, and if we reverse it, see how we have a plug right there? I'm just going to take my pry bar and lift up on that tab a little bit, and then down, and there we have it. So we have everything is all out from our ceiling. We should be ready to start dropping it down. Now hopefully you can see it in the video. The back, since we took all that out, is already starting to drop. So I'm going to have my helper go back there and kind of just hold that up. And then I am going to work from the top. Now what you're going to get a lot of times is this molding, this weather stripping kind of helps hold this in. So I'm going to take it and just peel it back and set it off to the side a bit, and then I'm going to do the same thing back here with the back, like so. And we're just going to slowly start to work this and see what we have. Now I'm thinking, based off of what I'm feeling here, that this trim that runs around here holds this. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off. That this holds it on, yeah, it did. So on that note, as you can see, we're now coming down. We have our headliner. By the way, here's that funny wiring harness, and it went to nothing. So we have no idea what somebody did there at one point, but we now have an answer. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the driver's side down and bring the passenger side up and try and kind of set it sideways, nice and easy. All right, so we finally got this figured out, and the way we had to do it is, you can see this here's the opening for the sunroof. So we brought the rear up and over to the passenger side, and then we brought the front out here to the driver's side. That gives us more opening because the door in the front is bigger. But I'm telling you, if you're going to want to get this out, you're going to have to take out the center console and the two seats, or you're not going to get it out of here. So we kind of have it here. You can see we're already starting to come out, and my one helper here is going to hold the door, and we're going to just continue to slide this right out through the opening. So we're finally ready to get our carpet here out of the truck. Now, if you're watching this video, odds are you own one of these, so you understand I'm able to give you a limited view of what's going on here. Where you're at is about the best that I can give you as we try and take this out, so bear with us. Now, the final step we need to do is we need to tuck our wiring harness here for the seat in. I just like to put it back here through this opening under the carpet so it doesn't interfere. And then same thing on the other side, as well as right up in here, you're going to have a little plastic hold down, and it has a Phillips in it. And what happens is if you try and just turn it as it sits in there now, the screw just turns inside of there. So if you'll take something like this pry bar tool, my upholstery tool, and you kind of put it down underneath the head and lift up, and then work the plastic screw in the middle, and then it'll come right out, and you can pry it up, and then you can take it out. So now that we have that done, all of our carpet now is completely loose. So what we want to start doing, especially since this carpet's 20-something years old, it's never been out of here, is we're just going to start moving it around and feeling, and it feels pretty good. I mean, I've never spilt anything like Kool-Aid or that, but anytime somebody spills a drink in these things, it makes it difficult. I'm going to move around to the back door, and we'll kind of raise up the back, and I think we should be ready to get this out of here. I'm going to try and fold this so when the time comes, it's easier for us to take it. There we go. Out through the door. Now I'm back here in the back. I'm sure you can't see this entirely, but I'm going to lift this off of its little openings and whatnot in the back. Let me come back around front here. Hopefully that way at least you can see more of what's going on. So I'm just going to fold it over on itself, and now I'm just going to take it out, and we'll go set it in the driveway and start pressure washing it. Then we'll hang it up actually after that so it can dry over the next few days. And like that, we were able to get the carpet out, and we are now down to just the metal frame. At this point, I just laid my carpet down in my driveway. I got my pressure washer out with my foam cannon, and I just sprayed that down really good, as you can see, and I got it completely covered and a nice thick foam. I let that sit for a few minutes, and then I come back through with my brush, and I just kind of want to agitate it, work that soap down into the carpet, and just kind of allow it to soak and take it all in so it gets that dirt loose. And then naturally the follow-up after that is just to go through now with my pressure washer and the wand and start working that out. Now I'm lucky, my driveway is at a slope, so as you're watching this video, to the right kind of faces downhill, so I'm able to actually work that down the hill, and then I work it out to the edges from the middle out on both sides to rinse it and make sure I get all of the soap out of there. And then when I'm pretty much done with that part, I will take it, and I have two sawhorses here that I put a 2x4 across, and I'll lay my carpet on there and allow it to dry. Usually takes about 2 to 3 days. I want to make sure it's completely dry before I install that back in my truck. And this is what the interior of my truck looked like when I got done pulling the carpet out. Now, it's not hideous, but it's got a lot of dust and dirt and things of that nature that have gotten under the carpet, and they're all over the place inside. So naturally, while I have everything out, we're going to keep cleaning this and going crazy. Now, the first thing I want to do is just vacuum and get all the dust and the debris out of there, because the next step of my process is I'm going to take my trusty Dawn and some hot water. I'm going to spray that all down inside the interior there. I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to agitate it really good just to knock all of that loose on there and let it soak, just so I'm able to get in all the nooks and crannies. I have everything soaked down on there. It's all been cleaned. It's really going to make it smell great and like new in there again. And then when I'm done with that, believe it or not, I'm going to hit it with my pressure washer. I want to knock all of that out. I want to drain it all out of the truck. I want to make sure it's nice and clean in there. So I'm basically starting from scratch again, as if it was coming right out of the factory when I'm done. Now, when I'm done with that, I'm going to go through with my vacuum, and I'm just going to vacuum all the water up out of there so it gets nice and dry. And then when I'm done, this is what it came out as. It looks just as good as the day it came out of the factory. To get my seatbelts clean, what I did is I pulled them all the way out, then I put a clamp on them next to the seatbelt mechanism so they wouldn't retract. I then took a bucket, filled it with really hot water, and put about 4 tablespoons of my trusty Dawn in there and let them soak for about 30 to 45 minutes. Once I was done with that, I'd take them out and I'd just lay them on my driveway so it was easier to take my pressure washer and just start working that up and down the belt. And I just kind of took my time with that. It didn't damage it at all, but boy, as you can see here, what an amazing difference that it took that dirt out of that belt. And if you think this one's something, wait till you see the front that's coming up here. It's quite frankly pretty scary how much we were able to take out, but we were able to make them look really nice and new again. And so this process here is just working both sides of the belt, taking my pressure washer, working it up and down, and then when I'm done, I just kind of hung them back up inside the truck, and then we moved on to the front ones. Basically, we're going to do the same process again for the front, where I'm going to pull the belt out. I put a clamp on it so it didn't retract, let it soak in a bucket for about a half hour or so. I did some other things and then just started hitting it with my pressure washer, working my way up and down. And holy cow, would you look at that difference? That is scary. I can't believe that seatbelt was that dirty, but quite an amazing change. But I just kept working with it, worked both sides of it, and I was able to get that cleaned up and have it looking nice and new again. I'm using a squirt bottle with about a tablespoon of Dawn mixed in there and my drill with a soft brush, and I'll just spray that on my headliner that I have laid out here. And I don't want to get it too wet, but I do want to get it just enough where it'll loosen up the dirt, the grime, the dust, things that are on my headliner. So I'm able to just work it back and forth with my drill. And as you see, I'll hit it one way with the pattern, then I'll hit it the other way just to make sure I get everything covered and loosened up. I don't want to get it too wet. I just want to make sure I get it kind of damp. And then what I'll do is I'll go back through with my shop vac and I'll extract all that dirty water and that cleaner and whatnot off of there so it can begin to dry. Now, quite frankly, every now and then you can run into, you'll see there kind of towards the middle where my headliner did become a little bit loose in there, and it was that way actually, quite frankly, before I started this. But in the end, I was able to make that all work out. But I would like you to be aware, sometimes when you clean a headliner, this is a situation situation that you can run into. That's why you don't want to get it really wet to start with. You just kind of want to get it just a little bit damp, work it with a drill, see how it reacts, and then work from there. But always make sure and take a shop vac and extract all the fluid out of there. Number one, so you're getting the dirty stuff out, but you also want to get it dry again as quickly as possible. And this came out really nice. I just kept working it through here, hitting it with my vacuum, pulling all that moisture back out of the headliner again, just taking my time with it. When I was all done, I was really happy with the results of my headliner. It just came out super clean. It looks brand new again, and I'm really happy with it. It's ready to go back into my truck. For the panel that goes in the rear of the cab, I decided to use my foam cannon. I just sprayed it down real good, took a brush, agitated it, and then followed that up with my pressure washer. I hit both the front and the back just to get all the dust off and get it ready to go back in. Next, I was on to my seats. Now with my seats at this point, all I'm focusing on is the carpet, the fabric, and the bases and getting those cleaned up. I'm not going to do the leather until they get back into the truck. I'll do a cleaning and conditioning then. I use my Dawn once again to clean all those. I follow that up with my vacuum to extract all the liquid out and the moisture and get the dirt out. And then I'll go through and I'll take my compressed air, and that allows me to get into all the nooks and crannies that you just can't reach with a vacuum. It also kind of fluffs up the carpet too, makes it look really good, and it also starts the drying process. We're going to get these done, get them ready to go back in the truck. We'll take care of the leather once it's back inside. Okay, so the next part of our process here is going to be removing our door panels. What you have to do is remove this panel here and this panel up here with your switch, and you will see a fastener in there. Each one of those are 7mm. I'm going to use my knife. I find it easier. But you just put this in that little tab right there and you push out and it comes off just like that. And right down in here is a 7mm fastener. So the next step, we have this panel here that we need to take out, and what you do is I'll take and put my hands like here and push up with my thumbs. See how that is that way? Now what we want to do is kind of come back this way and lift that up, and then we can take that out. Inside of here you have your electrical connection. It has that little tab that you'll depress, and then you'll go ahead and remove your switch, and that leaves it open to get to the fastener that's down inside of here, and I'll just remove that. Now that our panel is loose, all we really have to do is lift it up and then pull it out. And there we have it. Now we're on to the front panel. Same concept here. There's going to be one extra step, but you're going to do it basically the same. First thing we have to do is remove this panel here, and you do that by pulling straight out on it. Then we have to remove this panel down here, and once we do, there's a fastener in here that's 7mm, and then we'll remove this panel here, and there'll be a fastener right here, and it's also a 7mm. We'll start up here with this one, and what you do is just kind of grab it and pull straight back. And sometimes they can be kind of stiff, but just like that they come out, and it has these two tabs going in these slots here, and that's out, and that kind of holds it down in the corner. That's why it has to come out. Next we'll come down over here, and I'm just using a knife, and you push inside of there and see how it starts to come out, and you lift that out, and right up inside of here, right here is your other fastener. Set that in here. Now we need to remove this, and where a lot of people make mistakes with this is you want to lift up on this end. On this end there's a tab that goes underneath, so if you start prying on this end you're going to break that tab, and it breaks this trim piece. So I just have my little pry bar here, what I'll do is I'll go up underneath here and lift up on this end like that, and then pull it forward and then take it out. Same principle on the driver's side door as well. And what you'll do is you have the little locking tabs on these. You'll just unplug, press those in and unplug. Then set this off to the side, then remove the one fastener here. Now that that's done, I'll just tuck these in here, and it's just like the back door. We're just going to lift it up and pull it out. And there we have it. I'm just going to do a quick time lapse on these door panels on the passenger side, because the removal process for both the front and the rear is identical to the process that we did over on the passenger side. So you're just going to follow the same principles and we'll get these door panels taken off. Now that I have all my door panels off, I want to kind of address my dash. As you can see, it's completely torn apart. I actually had to do some work up in here, which was a side project as I was doing this. So I ended up removing this bezel cover, and while that was out, I went ahead and cleaned it all. Normally, if I don't do that, and I normally don't, this is only because I had to do a repair, I would just use something like my drill brush, some compressed air, and my squirt bottle, my trusty Dawn dish detergent, and I would go through, I would scrub it down, then I would wipe it down with a microfiber and then hit it with my air compressor to get it all nice and clean. Now in this case, I have all the parts out, and quite frankly, I was at a point where I'm like, well, if I have the bezel out, I'm going to go ahead and remove all this stuff. It just makes it easier to get in there and clean it, and I'll kind of show you that as I go along. So we're ready to start taking this on. One of the things I wanted to do is when I got to looking down inside my vents, I mean, to be honest, after 24 years, they just look disgusting and gross down in there. And I want to clean those out really good. So it's just nice and putting good clean air through my cab now as I'm driving. And so what I did is I went and picked up these dryer, they're like a dryer vent cleaning brush from Everbuilt. And I'll put a link to them down below in the description. And so my plan here is I'm going to run those in each one of my vents a bit, get that cleaned out. I have my vacuum so I can run that down in there and get it cleaned out. I also have a bunch of my microfibers. So once I initially go through my brush, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just my sprayer with some Dawn. I'm going to put that on my microfiber, and then I'm going to work that through the vents. And for that, I have just this little grabber tool that has like those little arms on the end, and I can use that to shove down in there and work it back and forth and just clean out my vents. And so this is something way beyond the ordinary, even for me when I do a hardcore detail job. So I'm going to do this in a time lapse just so you can see me doing it. Maybe it'll give you some ideas, but this gives me a chance to clean out all the vents, make sure everything's nice and clean, and just really make it smell great when I'm done with this job. So without any further ado, let's get this going. I was really glad that I decided to take on this dash project. By putting that brush in my drill, I took the handle off, and then just using my other parts, I was really surprised I was able to get into all that piping that wraps up around inside my dash and get all that dirt, dust, and whatever built up inside of there out and make it like brand new again inside of there. After that, it was time to take on my dash, and what I really wanted to do is start the steering wheel, and then I worked my way back to the dash. That way I'm not getting things as I'm spraying cleaner on my steering wheel. I don't want to get it on the dash on areas I'd already cleaned, so I have to do everything twice. So I'll start on the outside and work my way in. The other thing I'll do is I'll make sure and start my truck or my car, whatever I'm working on, because then that way, for example, when I'm trying to clean the steering wheel, I can go to an area that I have easy access to get my tool into, and then I can just turn the steering wheel and kind of work from that one location. It makes life a lot easier. here. Now, when I'm doing a project like this, I kind of have 4 tools, if you will, that are kind of my main tools. And one of those is going to be my drill brush, so I can kind of use that in the bigger areas and I can just cover a lot of ground and get it cleaned up really good. My other tool is just going to be the hand brush you see I'm using here, and that way when I can't get my drill brush in a place, I can use that to get in there. After that, big important tool is going to be my blowgun that's hooked up to my air compressor, because that really gets into all the nooks and crannies, gets the moisture out, gets the dirt out. It does an amazing job. And then lastly, naturally, you got to have a microfiber to wipe things down when you're done. So at this point, I'm just going to kind of let this get going here. You can watch me get this dash cleaned up. This here is all the panels and the storage tray that was inside my truck and different trim pieces before I took them in and cleaned them, and I just thought I would show these to you here. I'm not going to show you this cleaning process because, quite frankly, what I did at this point is I take these in, and my wife loves it when I do this. I get in trouble, but I will take these inside and I'll take our spare bathroom. I'll fill the bathtub up with hot water. I'll put in about 5 tablespoons of Dawn, and I will put these parts in there and I will let them soak for a while, and then I'll go through, clean them with my brush, then rinse them off, let them dry, and then they're ready to get reinstalled. And on that note, I'm going to wrap up this first video in our 3-video series right here at this point. Now, I am going to put a link to video number 2 here up above or in one of these corners for you, so you can stay along here with my series. Let's get going on video 2, where we're going to be taking care of the headliner. We're going to put all the trim pieces back in, get the carpet back in, and then we'll move on to video 3.